They said the legend was finished. They mocked the once sleek assassin, pointed at the extra kilos that draped over his hips, whispered that his knees were held together by little more than hope and good tape. But the Fenómeno wasn't listening. While the world replayed his old Real Madrid highlights and filed him under gone but great, Ronaldo Luís Nazário de Lima was quietly loading one last round into the chamber. What followed in Brazil would blur the line between myth and memory, because no one, absolutely no one, was ready for the storm that an overweight 30-something striker was about to unleash on Corinthians and the entire football planet. He didn't come back to prove he was young. He came back to remind everyone that pure class never ages. The first warning sign arrived long before São Paulo journalists learned to mispronounce hypothyroidism. It sparkled in Milan, where Carlo Ancelotti took one look at Ronaldo's 100-kilogram frame and quipped that gravity had finally won. The response was ice cold. Do you want me to run or do you want me to score? 90 minutes later, he had 2 goals and not a single sprint on the heat map. Even with a knee opened 8 separate times, he saw angles ordinary forwards could barely imagine. Yet, another ligament snapped. Milan terminated the deal, and Europe exhaled in relief. The phenomenon had finally faded, or so they thought. Ronaldo vanished, but not into comfort. He retreated to Flamengo's training center, sweating beneath Rio's cruel sun, moving cones with silent fury while fans perched on fences filming shaky clips. He looked slow, heavy, mortal. Still, one swivel and a teenage defender melted to the turf. Flamengo hesitated. Too many doubts, too big a salary, too little medical faith, and by the time they blinked, Corinthians had crashed the party. Corinthians in late 2008 were less a club and more a cautionary tale. Their dressing room was literally a shipping container that leaked during tropical storms. They'd just crawled out of Serie B, choking on the toxic smoke of the MSI money laundering scandal. President Andrés Sanchez couldn't keep the lights on, let alone sign the most expensive free agent in the sport's history. Yet fate isn't a spreadsheet. In a dingy hotel bathroom, cigarette dangling, Sanchez grumbled about agents and percentages. Ronaldo listened, then dropped a line for the ages. Forget the salary. I just want to play. One handshake later, the poorest big club in Brazil owned the most explosive name in the game. For Flamengo supporters, the betrayal cut deep. Overnight, Rio Talk Radio turned venomous host branded him mercenary. Callers vowed never to chant his name again. Yet in São Paulo, the reaction was equal and opposite. Corinthians shirts sold out by dawn, and ticket offices recorded the fastest surge in club history. In a single signature, Ronaldo redrew Brazil's tribal map, turning friend to foe and bankrupt underdog to sudden headline act. Proof that sometimes a transfer isn't commerce, it's an earthquake. The unveiling felt like a rock concert. Tens of thousands jammed Avenida São Jorge, chanting O campeão voltou, half in celebration, half in disbelief. Rival fans uploaded memes of Fat Ronaldo lumbering after ghosts. That mockery lasted exactly 50 minutes of official football. On debut, the Phenom ghosted between 2 center backs, stabbed the equalizer, and sprinted into a fence that collapsed under the weight of delirium. Places of worship do not always have roofs. 2 weeks later, Corinthians met São Paulo in the Paulista semis. Their VP had called Ronaldo an ex-player. Reply, 1 assist, 1 ruthless finish, plus a post-match mic drop. Let's see if that guy crawls out of his cave now. Then came the final versus Neymar's Santos. Pele, watching from above. Under siege, Corinthians buckled until Ronaldo burst through midfield, rolled the ball under his studs, and curled home a shot so audacious even the king chuckled. Trophy secured. La Gazeta printed what Brazil secretly craved. Ronaldo is a phenomenon again. Inside the dressing room that night, teammates describe an eerie calm. Ronaldo laced boots in silence, tapped each shin pad twice, then murmured a single line, "They forgot who I am." On exit, he brushed past a TV tuned to the rival VP's pre-match taunts, glanced once and shook his head with a slow smile. By full time, the same official stood frozen in a corridor, confronted by cameras and forced to recant live on air. Via one 90-minute masterclass, the ex-player had re-educated an entire nation. 10 minutes into the final, he fed Jorge Henrique. Minutes later, he made it 2. Santos clawed back to 2-1, but pressure bred genius. Ronaldo slalomed through 3 defenders, unleashed a screamer, and lifted the Paulista crown after 6 barren years. Fences collapsed, hearts stopped, headlines screamed. Nostalgia had turned lethal. Cameras caught teenage Neymar at the whistle, wide-eyed, jersey half-tucked, absorbing the lesson. This was what greatness looked like when bruised pride met insuppressible talent. Years later, he'd cite that match as the day he understood football's psychological warfare, how aura can smother an opponent before kickoff. In real time, though, every newspaper simply ran the same immortal headline: "O Rei voltou." The king returned. Silverware set off a media war. Romario begged Dunga. He's still one of the greatest. Talk shows debated until sunrise. Ronaldo dragged Corinthians to Copa do Brasil glory, punching their Libertadores ticket. Sponsors flocked. A new arena broke ground. But South Africa 2010 called without him. The snub sharpened every touch. Fractured hand, popped calf, yet 23 goals by season's end. New year, new life, he grinned in 2010 preseason, outrunning teammates in training. Proof that sheer class can bully physics. Then destiny blinked. Deportivo Tolima stunned Corinthians, dumping them from the Libertadores. Valentine's Day, 2011, Ronaldo faced reporters, voice trembling. Hypothyroidism, medication banned by doping codes, had sabotaged his metabolism. "I've lost the battle against my body," he confessed. "I sacrificed everything. I have no regrets. But now, I must go." The press room froze. Months later, at his ceremonial farewell, knees creaked, but the roar felt like forgiveness. Corinthians would later conquer South America and the world, funded by the marketing hurricane he'd sparked. Backstage after the tear-stained press conference, medical staff found him alone, staring at his boots. He whispered that they felt heavier than ever, not because of fatigue, but because each stud was filled with memories I can't carry anymore. One physio offered to save the pair for the museum. Ronaldo refused, insisting they be donated to a youth academy. "Let kids run faster than I ever could," he said, underscoring that even in surrender, his final instinct was to pass the torch. Kids in Parque São Jorge still mimic that fake shot drag back into the near corner. They don't care he was overweight or wheezed after training. They care that when the ball kissed his boot, the universe paused. Form is a snapshot. Class the eternal watermark. Ronaldo's twilight reminded us that legends don't retire, they echo. At Corinthians, that echo still rattles concrete, whispering to every striker, "Predators never forget how to hunt." Ask Corinthians ultras to list club legends and they'll finish with a curious footnote. "Our greatest hero never won us the Libertadores. He taught us to believe we could." That shift in collective self-image proved more valuable than any medal, seeding the mentality that would later topple Chelsea and Yokohama and etch black and white stripes onto the global stage. Ronaldo's farewell thus doubles as an origin story for modern Corinthians, a reminder that sometimes the most transformative titles are the ones a champion inspires, then leaves for others to claim.